Welcome everybody. It is such a great pleasure for me to be able to host this talk that I heard about
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. I went to a meeting that was called Psychic
Association for Psychic Research.
Yes. So I was there, but there was and I heard Ole talk, and for some reason 2 days later, I got the impulse that I maybe should hold something like that for people who maybe not so familiar with the subject. I personally think it's a very, very important subject. I have not gone through the experiences Ole has gone through, but I had almost a near-death experience myself, but nothing close to what he has. My hope was actually what he talked about, pre-birth planning too. And I am one of those that believe that we have chosen our parents, for whatever the reason. But what is coming to me now is that our children are actually going to be our protectors. I don't know why, but this is seemed to be coming to me. But anyway, I'm going to give Ole 1 hour to talk. I told him, you have to talk 1 hour and then we have questions and answers. He says, but in my talks, I'm allowed people to interrupt. So if you are not sure about anything, interrupt him and he will answer. He's very good about it.
We can give it a try here to say where I talk for an hour without being interrupted and see how that turns out. Because we are recording this for the
YouTube.
For YouTube, for the corrupt YouTube.
But my channel is not corrupt.
It's bad karma to be on YouTube. It really is. No,
I don't think so. It is how we use things. But of course, we won't go into that discussion at the moment. But social media is here to stay, and we need to actually be inside it rather than outside it. This is my view. But anyway, now he said that you let him talk 1 hour and then we have the question and answers. The question and answers is for me the most important thing. Because Ole may not touch on subjects that you have on your heart. So ask the questions, and Ole is actually very good at answering the questions.
Thank you.
He doesn't avoid the answers, but on the other hand, you have to bring him back. Anyway, thank you for coming, and I have given you all each a book because it is a notebooks in case you all want to take notes. And Ole.
And we can start by, I have two pieces of paper for each of you. So we let it circulate here. You all take one of those. Also you, Lian. So we let it circulate. So here we go. My name is Ole Gerstrom. I'm an economist from the Copenhagen University. I'm a politician, been in Parliament here in Denmark. I have been a commentator with the Danish radio, Danish broadcasting years ago. I wrote my own manuscripts and went on national radio. I'm a spiritual worker, and I give regression therapy. And I'm a farm boy over from Jutland, from northwest of Jutland. My father was a cattle farmer. He had 50 cattle, giving dairy milk, which was sold in town without being treated whatsoever in any way. A very healthy thing. I grew up. That's why I have this fine health I have today. I was fed up with milk which was not treated in any way. It's forbidden to sell today. And I'm married to Sus sitting over there. We've been married for almost 50 years. We have 2 children and 5 grandchildren, and of them 3 are Steiner kids. Very nice Steiner kids. Hello. And so we are living up in our house, lying down to the Arsø, where we have the family just around the corner, and I take a swim in Arsø every morning the whole year round. Also when there's ice on Arsø, so that we enjoy very much. So we have a wonderful life, but then 2 years ago I was put into hospital. I had a cancer, a tumor in my stomach, and was operated on 3 times over 5 days. And after that, I experienced. I immediately, in that period after the operation, I was lying there between, sleeping awake between life and death. And then I saw in a window in front of me 2 men who said, "We are losing him." And then I was on my way down, up through the tunnel. In the tunnel it's dimly lighted. I came up, and at the end of it I met 4 spiritual advisors sitting there. And we communicated telepathically. So when we sat there with each other, they all understood what this was about when they saw me. They knew it already. We looked at each other, and then I said to them to step down here at this point is not an option, because I have so much to live for. And they I could see they understood what I said, what I meant, and they agreed. And and one of them pushed a button, and then I went down through the tunnel again, and then later I found myself in the hospital bed, lying there with an infection figure of 550, which is close to being dead. But now I had returned to life, and that was told to me in a special way. I had an experience now with 4 sequences while lying there, again between life and death. Sequence number 1, I re-experienced my birth in 1946. I came out of my mother's womb, and I was lying there on a white pillow, and I could move my arms, I could move my legs, I could scream, I was alive. That was a wonder. It was great to be born, to be born again. Sequence number 2, with me and my mother. She was there and looking down on me, and there was a love between us, like with a young pair, when you're really in love, there's nothing like us two, and nobody else is of any importance whatsoever. There's just us two in the whole world, right? So it was with me and my mother in sequence number 2. Number 3, shown to me, now I was lying on the grass out in the garden. I was lying and looking at the straws, at the grass, the little animals in the grass, those funny things running around, etc. And it was like a miracle for me to look at this. It was so interesting to look at those small things down in the grass. And being out on the grass in the sun, I enjoyed it very much. And then sequence number 4. Then a few months later, now I could walk. I could walk around on my legs, did not have to be carried or support, but I could walk, and now I was a real living being. So those 4 sequences told me, now I'm back in life. And I was lying in the hospital bed, and my healing went sort of slowly. Now I was equipped with astronomy here, and I was equipped with artificial nutrition. I got in down here, and I was trained as a nurse to serve these objects in my body here. Then 2 months later, I thought my healing was going too slow. And I got this idea from which was inspired by my meditation. I've been meditating my own method for years. And I just moved myself up in the divine area. And up in the divine area, I said, could somebody help me? And within minutes, 3 angels showed up, sitting by each other. I could see them like this. And they, I was informed telepathically, well, we can help you with your healing. And a few minutes later, 3 more angels, they were a little bit bigger, came also. Now there were 6. They were going to take care of me. And finally, a lady turned up, a lady looking to be in her mid-40s. Her name is Madame Ouspensky. She was married to the writer, the spiritual writer, Mr. K.P. Ouspensky, a Russian. And she would be in charge of my healing, they told me. And I saw her full figure. She was in sort of white, yellowish colors, black. And I said, thank you. And then they started, this team. They started to heal me. So the following night when I went to bed, then I had a pain in my right hand. And it was so strong that I felt that I pushed it between the pillow and the mattress. It could lie there, so then it didn't bother me too much. And then I went to sleep, and the next morning it was almost gone. The next night, this repeated, once time more with my right hand. And then every night, then for the following night, the left hand, 2 nights, then the right foot, 2 nights, then the left foot, 2 nights, then the right arm, the left arm, the right leg, the left leg, and the bowel part. 2 nights, each of them, starting with a pain, which disappeared. And I could immediately feel that, hey, this helped me. Like I have had some beginning gout, heat in my right hand, disappeared, totally disappeared. It has been ever since. And I'm 75, and now I can use my hands and use power without any problem. And also, I had also had that when I woke in the morning, there has been a tendency to have what you call a cramp in the legs. There was a tendency to do that. That disappeared totally. And then my healing just continued and continued and continued. And after 9 months, at Rigshospitalet. They said, okay, now you're fine, Ole. And so they removed those things here. And I could feel I was healed. I was in good shape. And I went to, then before I was released from the hospital, the nurse came to measure my blood pressure. She measured it. And she looked, what? Hey, what? Then she did it once more. Looked at the figure. What's going on? And I think a third time she thought, something very strange. And then she made a heart cardiogram of me to measure how my heart was working, and that was perfect. And then she said to me, "Ole, you have the blood pressure of a teenager. How can that be?" Well, you'll know if that's only one reason for that, because when you get older, your blood pressure it rises because of the veins are filled with calcium, whatever, to make the veins stiff. So the angels and Madame Ouspensky had also cleaned out my veins and everything else. And ever since, there has been a little bit of trouble in the body. I asked them, please, could you handle this? Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, very important to say, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart what you are doing to me. And they are still around me. I can call them any time, and I embrace them. I once even, like Madame Ouspensky, I could feel her astral hands on my back when we embraced each other. So I'm back now, full life here this winter. We went skiing in the mountains up in Sweden with the family and the grandchildren, and I went mountain skiing and on the hopping hills, etc. I could do the whole thing, which I think is unusual for people in my. And then comes the next. How come I was able to go up in the divine and ask for this help? And the answer for that is that some years ago I went to a seminar with Stuart Swertlow. He's an American mentalist. He came to Switzerland, and I went down there 2 times to be at his seminar. And he has written this book, among other things. And he's actually famous because he was part in this the Philadelphia experiment, which somebody who are very old may remember, where they experimented with the American Navy experimented with time travel, really, to move back and forth in time. And it's described in many books, the Philadelphia experiment, and observers told about how they had this naval ship in the harbor up in the northeast of the United States, and when they made the experiment, a fog came up so nobody could see the ship. And then some time passed and it came back again, and then it had been out in the future and came back. Very interesting. Stuart Swertlow was part of this to some degree, but something was not perfect, because there was one of the Marines aboard this ship. When they came back, he, instead of walking around on the deck of the ship, he was inside the fuselage, the aisle in the steel, what he was in. They had to cut him out of the steel. So something was not totally perfect. But Stuart Swertlow was part of this, and he was one of the Montauk boys, where they were sitting in a chair at Montauk, yeah?
Yeah, I just got a bit confused, because you wanted to share about how can it be that you have this connection.
Yeah.
And then we went into this.
Yes, yeah, this the answer is Stuart Swertlow. I went to his seminars, so I'm just explaining what type of guy he is. those abilities he got. And so at this, so he became sort of a mental worker, warrior, whatever. Started actually in the American military, but he got out alive, which was not the case for all of them. These Montauk boys, they were called. So at this seminar, he told us something which has been very important for me. It's described. You all got this piece of paper with the text on it, where it's described how you do it. So it's called active forgiveness. That's a very important thing to do in anybody's life, I would say. So active forgiveness means that that you make a list of all people which you do not like at all, to some degree. Don't really like them, maybe even hate them, etc. Where there's negative energies between you and so. Well, you can just start with the worst of them, right? And so it goes in this way. What you read here in this paper, that's one of the early versions, and he told us a later version. But you visualize, take this person you really hate the hell out of him. Take him into your space and connect from my heart to his heart with a golden connection of pure gold from me to him. And then I say to him, for any negativity between us, whether real or imagined, I forgive you and release you. And then you take them next, go through them. Everybody you can think of, who you dislike to some degree. And next day you do the same again. And you continue, until you love everybody in the world. That easy, is it? It is called unconditional love. And unconditional love is a condition you can be in. And when you're in this condition, you love everybody. Of course you do. Also him, yes, also him, also her, yes. When I did that, I experienced that I enter up in the divine, because which I could see like the stars, like sitting here. But I came up to the stars. I lived under the stars, and in this condition with my heart, this unconditional love. And that changed my life, to the degree that I could do that lying in the hospital bed. I could just go up in the divine, and I can do that today anytime I wish to. So so that trip. I was healed, and I am back here in total perfect health. So now we are also going to talk about reincarnation, earlier lives, and so I must tell you about before this life here. I was born in 1932 in Holland, in Amsterdam, in a Jewish family. Our father was a banker. We lived in a house outside Amsterdam, like in sort of Arne Jacobsen style, I would say, white house. my father and mother, my sister and I. And then came the war, and the Germans came to Holland. And we knew that Jews were taken to the camps in Germany, so we hid in a basement, like many Jews did. When living down there, you're not allowed to have any light, because that could tell somebody outside that somebody was living in the basement. So we were hiding, but we were found. We were transported away from the town out to the railway station, where we all was put into railway cars designed for cattle transport cars. And the only thing in that railway car was a bucket in the corner. That was the toilet. But it's rather fast, it overflowed. And then we were all, and the train started going to Germany. It took a long time. Then we drove on the way, and then it stopped, and we drove, and it stopped, and so we got no food, maybe something to drink, I don't know. It took days until we arrived to our destination in Germany, where suddenly the train stopped, doors opened, we could hear barking dogs, somebody shouted, "Schnell, schnell, get out," in German, which we did, came out, and there they were, German soldiers with their dogs, and there was a pit here besides the railway where the dead and the very sick were thrown down, and then we were taken away, and then the camp doctor, we had arrived at the concentration camp Bergen-Belsen, and there was a guy standing there and looking at us, and he was the camp doctor, medical doctor, supposedly. He sort of decided they was not who decided who could work, who could not work, who could just be extinguished or whatever. And he saw me. I was then here at the age of 10, a 10-year-old boy. And he said, "I take him." Not me. He took me to assist him in his clinic, a so-called clinic, where I was given a place to sleep, and I was given food. And that is why I could survive there for 2 years. Which I did. I lived there until 1944 as his assistant at the clinic. And he had this operating table with there were small canals for blood to run away, and there was a bucket standing there where the blood ran down in this bucket, and it was my job to take this away and to clean it, and after the operation to clean also the operating table, and I should help him during operation. That they were not patients, they were victims of him, right? And so they were put on the operating table with heavy leather belts, strangled down to the operation table, because there was no anesthesia used. That was reserved for the soldiers at the front. And so he started doing with his experiments, and I had to hold things and do things, and this job for 2 years. And where my family, my father, my mother, my sister, they were out in the camp, the usual treatment, and I saw my father being hanged. That was done publicly when they were like every morning. Everybody had to assemble and to hold in, and to stand up. We had to be counted every morning and stand out in very thin clothes. You know, whether it was raining, snowing, storming. To stand there, it could take hours, because we had to count it. You know, you had to figure like number of inmates yesterday was so many, plus new arrivals so much, minus date. That should give the new figure. And if the figures didn't match correctly, hey, then they count again, and they count again, and people were standing there and freezing. And if you just if you could find some paper and put inside your clothes, it could warm you a little bit. But that was punishable. That was not correct uniform. So people who did stuff like that, you know, they were beaten. Like we had the worst were the Kapus. That means Kameradenpolizei. That means Polizei from amongst the inmates who were forced to punish. You know, they were those who hit hardest. If they did not hit hard, they themselves would be hit. So they were quite cruel. And and so the worst insult they could express towards someone here, that was Jude, move away, that was and he was the doctor. I called him the doctor. I don't know his name, but he called me by my real name, which was Peter. So my mother disappeared, my sister disappeared, and we had, then there were the SS guards in the camp, also in the black uniforms with riding boots, and they had a horsewhip they carried around, you know, this button that was too much for them to carry, so they just had a horsewhip. So they had sort of a signature whip they did, that is to hit you across your face, so you got a red stroke over your face. That was their signature, these guys. Actually, I could understand that for the SS's, it was low status work to be in a concentration camp. You know, to go around, you know, and kick some fucking Jews, you know. You could be a hero on the East Front, where you could be a real soldier, and here, just guards. So they didn't even like it themselves. But then after 2 years, I think that the doctor, he thought I could be dangerous to him. Maybe I would kill him, right? Now I was 12 years old, and so then I was put on the operating table, and I think he was merciful towards me, because I think he just cut my this vein here in the throat. So when you do that, you know, blood pressure falls immediately and you lose consciousness. So that's an easy way to die. So should I say thank you for that? Yeah. Well, and so I died. And here I can tell you, this I recall what happens when you die. And that is a very important message for me to give to you, because everybody should know how is it to die. If you believe, like many people do, when you die, it's all over, it's just black, nothing else. Finish, final. No. Then actually, it is so, as I see it, that when you die, you get the reception you expect. If you are Christian, Jesus may stand there and receive you. And if you follow other religions, something religious from your religion may be there in front of you, so you think you have come to heaven. When you come up to I call it the between lives station, And it is, as I described earlier, when I died here, you come up to this station with spiritual advisors, where you, where one of the first things you do is to look at this life which just ended. And you can sit there up in the between life station, and you can look at this life which you just had, and you can see clearly every second of it. Everything which happened is visible for you when you sit there and look at this past life. And you sit there and judge yourself. What I did I do the right thing here? This happened. Did I do the right thing here or here? In my opinion, I myself was the hardest judge. We decide, did I do well or not? It has to do with karma. And I had considerations about my time in the concentration camp, where I actually helped this so-called doctor. That was I guilty? Was that bad karma for me? And I made the conclusion, yes, I did that. Although I was from 10 to 12 years old, I did it. And it is on my karma account. I did something terrible with these people. That's life. There's nothing called excuses. I was too young, etc. And what could I have done? Not much. But nevertheless, what I see is whatever actions you take in your life determines your karma. And that, of course, has importance for what continues next. Nevertheless, like in my case, then we continued looking at the next life I was going to take. Laid out a plan together with the spiritual advisors, but me as I remember it as I did the decisions about the current life to come. I found some parents I would like to have where I would like to be born over in North Jutland. I saw my father, my mother, and I saw my father. He had been working in the resistance during World War II in Denmark. He had been blowing up railway tracks, etc. He had been taking down weapons coming from Canada, from Canadian airplanes. My father had done some very dangerous things which could end him in the jails of Gestapo and even a concentration camp for what he did. So I found he was so courageous that of course I wanted him as my father. And my mother, yes. And my big brother, yes, he was born in 1942. That was great for me. So, okay, we decided this will be my new family, my father and mother. And I met another being there, a woman, and we decided that we, in this coming life, should see each other. Now she's sitting there. So we have been married now for almost 50 years. So it ended up good. But so the next thing, something I found out recently, I sort of in contact with clairvoyant people, etc., where we discussed this about this the between life incident, and it was a guy called Chris Melchior who said this, which really impressed me. He said, like what goes on in the between life station, that's actually your own decision. So if you're a Christian, well, then you are in maybe a Christian heaven, or maybe something not so pleasant. Decided by your own faith. And then I saw that when leaving the Between Life station, two things are set up, and that is something Chris said. But that is something you have established yourself. Really? Did I? Yeah. So there are two things happening here. When you exit the Between Life station, you are imprinted with your star sign. Yeah. And I see. Yeah, I could see the mechanism. There was some stars up there, and there was some machinery down there. Yeah, I could see that. So I simply removed the machinery here for this star sign implant. I removed it from the place and threw it down in the white flames, the white eternal flames. Throw it out. Gone. And So I'm much eager to experience next time I die. I'll be 97 years this time, so I have some more than 20 years back of this life to see how do I avoid the star sign implant. And when I removed that from the station, then I could see out. Then I could see the stars of heaven, sort of indicating to me that now I am free in my next life to go to any star I would like to live on. Like considering that this planet is a so-called present planet, and many people would like to get away from here. That is, however, not my plan. I stick to my previous plans. I'm going to be born in the northeast of the United States in the next lifetime. I think there's something over there to be handled. And so that was one part in the Between Life station. I removed, and now I stand here. I'll get back to that. I just, this is heavy stuff, working with. So something just disappeared in my mind. So I'll come back when I get back into my mind. So so I got born, and it turned out that my father was even more than what I have seen in that he was in the resistance, because like in the Cold War era he was a CIA agent working in a Stay Behind group, Project Gladio. We found out after his death. That was totally secret through all the years. And of course, like he was doing that to go in and fight. If Denmark was conquered by the Soviets, then he would go in again and blow up railways, etc. My father was not just a farmer; he was a very special person. I'm proud to have had. So prior to that, this was World War II. I can tell you about, would you like to hear about World War I? It's quite another story, totally different. World War I, during World War I, I was a priest in the Church of England, in Middleborough, up in the northeast of London. I was educated at Oxford, and I was the youngest priest at the cathedral. It's not a real cathedral. It looked like a cathedral, large, beautiful church building. So being the youngest priest, or the somebody a nickname for a priest is the vicar. They say you are the vicar for God, and nevertheless. During World War I, well, actually, this was equally heavy, because with regular intervals we received a list from the front of people from our county who had died in the war, in World War I. Such a list, and so we held a church service. Where one of the things the priest should do was to read the names from the list and hold this church service. And it was a hard task to see, like it was to those church services. There was mostly women, like younger men. They were sent to the front, or they were died. It was the women who came, and also those who had returned from the front missing some part of the body. They were there, and the women in the black gowns with a black veil, and some were crying, and some were stone-faced. And I recall a boy, I knew him, a boy that big, and he said to me, "Father, where's my father?" What do you say to such a boy? And I think I just told, I don't recall what I said. I just remember this question. It was hard to answer. And so once time also I experienced the crazy things going on this planet with all those satanic wars. But there was more to it than that. Time with being the youngest priest in town, I drove around in the city in a black car. A horse car with a seat for one person only, a gig is it called, and a horse, and going around to see the parishioners in the county, needing to get some words from the vicar, and I also went up to the castle. This sort of up on the castle, where the finest people in town lived, there was a woman up there, Lady Veronica. And this lifetime here, me in World War I, it started appearing for me, not in regression therapy or nothing. Just one morning I was walking, tears starting running down my cheeks, and I start to say to myself, Lady Veronica, there was something terrible about it. And then slowly the whole lifetime emerged for me, and then I saw, Lady Veronica. She was the lady in the castle, and during winter time, her husband, the Lord, he's down in Parliament, living down there. So I came up in my gig, and Lady Veronica, she offered tea, came in, and we could sit there and talk. And we became friends, and I started becoming more and more often up to her. We fell in love. We were terrible in love. Terrible. You know how we feel really, really that much in love. How it's real, somebody called it, it's an insanity. But we really loved each other. But we had all the time these servants coming, opening the door, anything else you want, my ladyship. And so we never touched each other, never. But the word spread around down in town, and I was called up to the bishop. He had heard about it, my frequent visits at the castle, and he told me this has to stop immediately. You know, to see her again. You know what this means in such a condition? It's unbearable. You have no life left. And I took a day off, went up in the mountains, climbed in the mountains, climbed up higher and higher. Wasn't really careful enough, and suddenly my foot slipped and I fell far down and died. That was in 1930. Yeah?
I'm a bit curious to understand more about these sessions where you recall, give me the impression that there are several ways that you recall these memories.
Yeah.
I'm curious to understand the mechanism of it in the situation of recalling.
Yeah.
And maybe possibly learn something from you in that process.
Yeah, like I recommend the Ole method. He was a regression specialist. Now he's retired, but he invented a method which is really good. And so that I can recommend. Like you can just go in and Google and find a regression therapist who applies the Ole methodology. It works very well.
And how much of this is actually like a clear one-piece memory, or how much is patched together of several memories? Is it like one memory, for example, the story that you told?
Yeah.
Did it come in one package?
Yes. Yes, it's done so for me. For me, it has. And well, it's different from person to person. There's no guarantee how it can be. And some people they can't really find anything. But I have seen very clear, no doubt about it, in therapy. And then when you have tried it a couple of times in therapy, well then I go out and I can just sit down and meditate and go into a lifetime and see what happened. I can do that today. So it has to do with opening up, relaxing, opening up, seeing what is there, and suddenly you see a little thing. You may see a tree, you may see a horse or whatever. So then you look closer at that. Hey, what horse is that? Oh, is it mine? Or is it my father's horse or whatever? And then you can start to start seeing it almost like a movie.
What's the difference between this state of consciousness and the dream state where you, like we all dream, I guess?
Yeah, like here you're fully conscious. Fully conscious. So it's not a dream. I also have dreams, interesting dreams. But that is another, I would say, from where I experienced stuff from other planes. So here it's not a dream. Yeah.
So this disease, this cancer disease that you just had,
Yeah.
do you recall, was that something that you had planned for yourself?
Yeah, I think so. I don't recall it, but it's obvious to me. Yes, it has been my own planning. And so the question is today: did I learn something from it? Oh yes, I did. Certainly. I'm basically sort of, I'm not a sensitive person. I'm a tough guy. So I go out and do what is needed. So I yeah. Hard to know. What did I learn from it? Yes. Like when I say today, the experience in the concentration camp today, I would not be without it. I would not. I learned something about man, how evil man can be. And the same thing now, when it's all over with my cancer, I'm totally cured. Yeah, I know it was tough times. It was tough for my wife. Tough for the family, and not so tough for me, but I got through it, and yeah, ready for the next experience.
In which year are you born in this life?
1946.
Okay.
So I
2 years after dying.
I usually have 2 years from death to getting reborn. Yeah.
Do you always come back as a man?
Yeah, in my case, yeah, I don't recall any time I've been a woman. I don't. So, but I know of other people who change between man and woman, and yeah.
For your next life, your next incarnation,
Yeah.
how much detail have you seen? Did you see what would be your task, so to speak? What should you do there?
Well, it was actually in a dream I saw it, and in the dream, I see 3 young men sitting in a sofa, and the guy in the middle, he sits with a musical instrument, and they are laughing and joking. These 3 they are in their 20s, and I concentrate on the guy in the middle, and I look at his face. And I say, this face carries my characteristic. That's me. It's goddamn me. I saw there sitting. So and then I realized, aha, yeah, we're sitting in northeast United States. It's my birthday. I sit here with my friends, and we are having some fun. And I'm studying economics at the university. And I'm planning a life where I intend to go into politics. That's what I saw in this dream. And I can see now that yeah, I think I'll stick to that. And there'll be one minus, like I'm growing up in that life with my mother, and my father is not seen. So that's a minus. But
good. It's question and answer time, and I actually would love you all to ask certain things that are bothering you, that maybe an answer from him can help me or him, but it might help somebody else or even yourself. So let's spend about 30 minutes on this question and answer. Mm-hmm. And I know Benjamin, who is going to conduct the music session later, has a question actually, or you want to tell us something.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I just found the invitation really invoking for me. I had also a bunch of experiences connecting with past lives.
You have, yeah?
Many past lives. Beyond being human, also just being like all kinds of creatures and many facets. And some of these has been through dreams, some of them has been with working with medicines, some of them have been coming to me before sleep. So there's so many things. I'm kind of like still digesting what you shared now and feeling like if there's something in this where I connect and share in that. But it is something very novel for me to be in a space where we discuss this, because I am 31 and I've just been alone with this experiences pretty much until recently. So it's very eye-opening to see that there are other people and that we can share such things. And for me, that just feels like a really novel and important occasion to be able to share that. So I think like almost that is enough, or an opening for me just to share how important that is to share. Then I don't know if I'm ready to actually dive into a story.
It's all right. You have I don't know. Benjamin finished? No. Yes, he has. He just told he was not going to dive in.
Yeah.
So you have a question, and you have a question.
Well, I myself believe in reincarnation, but I think I'm a little bit not. I don't agree completely with Ole's view of reincarnation, because I'm just thinking that I've been reading a lot about that also. That I don't think we should remember everything from earlier life. I think we should. I think the universe, the Almighty, or whatever you would call it, it's a gift for us that we are being reborn with a fresh towel, slate.
Yeah.
Slate. Yes, but still, and many of us, maybe as for myself, I a few times I get glimpses of earlier life. I guess it is, but only glimpses, because I think we should. I think the purpose of living is the human beings. I think we have a piece of the what called
Divine.
The divine, yes, in us, and we are actually like goddesses and gods, but the culture has, especially certain monotheistic religious cultures, have tried to put down the human being as, oh, you are born in sin, or whatever they say, and you have to communicate with the Almighty, because you are much lower down. But I don't think we are. I think we've just been put down by certain evil forces, some called Satan or whatever. And I think the meaning is that we humans, we have to evolve to perfection. And the perfect state would be like a spark. A spark. A spark, like from the sun, from a star, and then you are perfect. But this takes a lot of evolution and a lot of reincarnation before you get perfect. But I think this is the meaning of it, and we have to. And apart from this, I like very much the name of Nemesis. This is instant karma that happens in this life, actual life, so we can remember what we have done wrong or whatever. But karma is something from earlier life. We don't quite remember that. But Nemesis in this life, and I have experienced it, and I think everybody who's not perfect will experience Nemesis. I love this expression.
Yeah, thank you for the question, because like you lead me into something. You remember when I talked before about the between life station, there was one part of the exit which I forgot. Why the hell did I forget that? You talk about clean slate, right?
Yes.
Because that I was forgetting before. You remember I said I forget what it You know what I forgot? It is the forgetter implant. Like you get imprinted with a star sign, and then you also get implanted with a forgetter. So that when you are born, a newborn baby, then you can't even do mathematic work, calculations, etc. You have to go to school again, which is a terrible waste of time. if just so one thing, I removed that section from the Between Life station where you get the forgetter implant. I removed it and threw it in the internal file, so I'm much excited to see next time I get born if I can remember anything about speaking German, French, Danish, English, and
Chinese.
And I know chemistry and physics, etc., so I don't need to go to school. That's going to be very exciting next time.
So you mean there is a choice of whether you throw that?
Yeah, I think I removed that from the system.
I see.
And this forgetter implant. You speak about becoming perfect. Perfect. You think you're becoming perfect? I know there are many talking about like that. So the rising masters, right? Like Madame Uspensky. She's a master. Is she perfect? No. No. She's well, like one of us. I have myself for 300 years up till 1448. I was on the rise, and I do not call myself a master. I was a helper. I was a helper going up in heaven, and for 300 years I was helping people down there with their lives. It was up above Turkey, Iran, etc., and there was an evil ruler in town down there, and there was an old lady down there, living alone, and I helped her to find some food to eat. I could do that from upstairs. I could sort of get to the idea, an idea to her. Walk over to that forest, to that tree. There you will find something to eat. I could help them. And I also helped people in the city where I could do something.
You're talking about in between lives, or what?
No, I was not reincarnated for 300 years. I was a rising helper instead.
Mm-hmm.
But then it ended up by a conquering army came in on galloping horses through the gates of the city, came in and threw away the evil ruler. I'm sure they were quite brutal in those times. Then I saw like my mission had ended, and then I reincarnated again.
Before we come to Ada's question, in the last lecture that I was listened to you only had a very interesting expression for me, to me, and he used to talk about spirits, but he always called them gods with the little g.
Oh yeah. You talk about.
And I've asked him, what is the God with the big G? But anyway, you can come back, because this is what I find very, very interesting to meet all the so many spirits, and you keep on calling them God with a little G.
Yeah.
But anyway, before you come back to that,
very, I'd like to say that because like God with a big G, God, that is what when I go up into the divine, then I get up near that. And I even remember when it is a long time ago, when I, being part of the divine, decided to exist solo. And then I came out as a spark from the divine and came down here among the living people, just being a spirit. I came out from the divine. And now I'm here. And here where we are, I have met a row of gods with a little g. One of them is Jehovah. I've met him in meditation, where I try to, because I remember, from school, he appeared to me like an evil god. You remember this guy who was told by God, Jehovah, to kill his own son. So I would give him some therapy. Hi Jehovah, how can I help you? Please consider. Is it a good idea to get people to kill their own children, etc.? And I just recall him. He was a nasty old fellow. And funny thing is, I've been in mail correspondence with a woman from called Kim. She's now married to Robert Duchamp. I know he's a spiritual guy. And she had the same experience, meeting Jehovah, and she said he is a nasty old fellow. I have lived in Egypt. I haven't told you about that. I've been in Egypt. I've been initiated in the Great Pyramid down in Egypt. And then we had a god who was Horus, there was Isis. I think I contacted in those times. And I did that again, and I tried to also to give Horus, some therapy. And he took over, and then he gave me therapy, just like that. and a more another story is that this is some years ago that Sus and I, we drove up in Sweden, up along the east coast, going up to an island called Cherry, and then on the way up. We sort of felt, hey, shouldn't we have a cup of coffee? So we turned off from the road, we rode down, and there was a city down by the sea, and we had a cup of coffee, and then we could see that it was something for tourists up there. Many people walked up there. So we followed them, came up, and there we found this was the Swedish Stonehenge, with a circle of stones. They were maybe 3 or 4 meters high above ground, and in an oval shape. And I stood up at one of them like this to experience what is going on here. And then I came into contact with a guy, and that was the well-known Nordic god Thor. He was furious. What the hell? Nobody is paying me respect anymore. Nobody came and offers a thing to me. And children play on the stones. This was a holy site for those who were under my command. And now nobody respects him anymore. So he was furious. So I took him in therapy and listened to what he had to say. And ba 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 ba. Yeah, that was a lot. He had to complain about. And then finally, he sort of relaxed and said, "Okay, thank you," and said goodbye to you and have a good time, etc. So he's a god with a little g.
Yes, that's what you said.
And at the same time, I also met Svea, who is a female god who considers that she owns Sweden. Yeah, she owns Sweden. And then I also would like to mention Gaia. Like now I got into this condition of unconditional love. It happened a few years ago. I was lying down at the Arsø, getting a sunbath, lying down on the grass, and then suddenly I got a connection from Gaia, who is running Earth, right? That's a woman, and it was a connection from her to my heart, or from my heart chakra. We established that connection. Gaia is a wonderful person, friendly, and I like her very much. And ever since that day, I have been in contact through my heart with Gaia.
With a little G.
With a little G. With a little G. A little G.
Yes. Ada, you were about to ask a question. Let's go back to...
Yeah, and now there's so much more inspiration, so it's hard to remember exactly what I wanted to ask. But I have never experienced any past lives, but I have experienced a lot of destiny, and I have experienced, especially with Denmark. I immigrated here 15 years ago, and also in more recent years with kind of the ancient Northern European history. So I'm curious about that and the connection. I have never really inquired about past lives, but this concept of destiny and presence and meeting people randomly by chance, finding Stonehenge and things like that. Right.
Yeah. So I just remember one sentence said to me many years ago by our daughter, Anne Sophie, when she was 6. And she was standing on the staircase, and she said to me, "Father, there's no such thing as tilfældighed." What do you say in English?
Coincidence.
There's no such thing as coincidence, she said to me, this wise girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Oh my God, yes, there's a plan with everything." And I think she's right.
Is that your answer to her?
Yeah.
Actually, there was one thing I remember just now when you were saying, I had one experience where when my son was maybe 6 months old, and he couldn't say anything. He actually took till he was about 2.5 before he spoke, or 3. But I was telling him that I, loved him unconditionally, and he gave me this facial expression of recognition of shock, like, what? You love me in that way? And that was the only time where I really felt like he had a past life, and that past life, he was not loved unconditionally. And it was just really fascinating and fun to experience. So, yeah.
Interesting.
I have a question.
This Ormond is our photographer, and he calls himself Incarnation. This is how I met him.
Yeah.
He's Incarnation,
Yeah.
Before you get the cancer and go to the hospital, how was your personality? Did you believe on God, reincarnation? Have you ever studied any books about the metaphysics or something similar to this or not? This is the first question.
Yeah.
And the second question, you don't have to answer it, but I'm just curious. Have you ever had any unpleasant experience during your dreams or during those times that you were healing, that you never talked about it, and sometimes you think about it, and you just wanted to talk somewhere or sometimes? But you don't have to answer it.
Well, no, I have not been reading many books about this. Because I go into my method is I sit in my best chair, close my eyes, I sit like this, and then I ask my higher self, what should I do today? And then I get the idea to do meditation this way. Like one thing I was suggested to use was go in your meditative state and then just let yourself just fall and fall and fall and fall and just continue falling. And that was really good, really good. but I get them from my higher self. And I have been onto this route for many years, since I was young. When I started in high school, I went to the library and read all books on psychology, all of them, 13.1. I read some books about mysticism, etc. But like this method, just sitting and being inspired by my higher self. And to me, the higher self is actually the same person as me here, but here I'm a limited version. Like my higher self, I think has the ability to know anything I would like to know, the Akashic records or whatever. I have in this lifetime been in the Akashic records for 2 seconds, and that was quite an experience, but I haven't been able to go into it later. So it just comes to me, inspired by like Stuart Sverdlov here and others, but I've known for many years that there is past life and reincarnation, etc. That has been obvious for me.
I hope he answered your question.
Yeah.
There's another question.
Oh, it was just related to these papers.
Pardon?
It's just an answer to
This
why we got this paper.
Because I told you, there's the article by Stuart Sverdlov on active forgiveness.
Yes.
Right? And the other piece of paper I gave you with these signs, that is this is the book by Stuart Sverdlov, which is called The Healer's Handbook. And I told you about when I was 2 years ago, when I was in communication with those spiritual helpers. We communicated telepathically. And so how do you communicate telepathically? Stuart Sverdlov gives the answer in this paper. You got one of them. You can see those signs. That he says that these signs, when we are talking here, these signs are underlying our talk, going from person to person. So actually, all this talk here is not necessary, because actually we have the ability to communicate telepathically, because we have fallen, to this terrible shape we're in now, and I know it, because now maybe should I tell something which is totally crazy?
I think most of it is totally crazy.
Because I've been here on this planet for 8,000 years. I've lived in the old Egypt. I was initiated in the pyramid, etc. I lived in China. I have lived in Himalaya. I've been a Tibetan monk sitting in a cave a whole lifetime, etc. And I've lived in the old Rome, in a senator in Rome. I've been a soldier in Rome. I was there. We were ordered out. There was some trouble with some terrorists. Some terrorists had been executed. So we came out, so a unit of soldiers, 50 of us, came out to a place down in Palestine called Golgotha, just to keep order. And there were 3 crosses, and there was this guy hanging on one of them. And I got in contact with him. Joshua is his real name. And I've been in contact with him ever since. I can get him in contact. I can ask him questions. But before coming down to Earth here, I have for many thousands of years, lived out in the space civilization in the Galactic Confederation, where it started many thousand years ago, where I, as a young man, came into the Space Academy. Was trained as a space traveler, and came into diplomatic work, where we traveled out to see other civilizations and to establish connections to them, have friendly relations, trade, etc. That has been my job for many thousands of years, traveling in the Ambassador spacecraft, going out to wherever we thought it might be an idea to have a connection. And the spacecraft is by definition not armed. It was not armed. But of course we have a shield around it, which would protect us for any attack, which it did most of the time. And so I'm accustomed to go out to meet strange aliens, reptiles, insect beings, whatever type you can think of. There are many strange types out there, and like there's something pleasant in having with humans to do, because they have emotions. So you can see on a human you have contact with, you can see their emotion. They express, are they friendly, are they unfriendly, are they going to kill me, or are they going to kiss me, or whatever. But some like insect beings, it's very difficult to see any emotion, so you have to be really careful with them, and really to evaluate what does it mean here, as what is that, what intentions do they have. So that has been my job for thousands of years, to establish contact with all sorts of strange beings. I've had this position as ambassador for many thousands of years because as I said before, I'm not really a sensible person. I'm a robust person. I can go into troubled waters, and if it really gets tough, I just go into an inner calm, where I'm in an inner calm. Like on a computer, it's called protected something. On the old Windows, you can start it up with protected. So I could myself go into a protection, and because then I nothing could make me afraid. Or I carried through the mission, got the contact, got the communication, went home again. So that is my most basic profession.
We are about to need to stop, but I'd like to bring you back to a topic that I particularly am very interested in that we choose our parents, because in my work, I meet a lot of people that have decided to disown their parents. It is a rather common phenomenon for me in Denmark that people choose to disown their parents. So because they put the blame on the parents to be what they are. So I'd like you to just again come back, not more than 5 minutes, to talk about what do we actually learn, what should we actually learn?
I would say than getting born from parents. This way we are getting born here, not in a test tube, but really with a mother carrying you around for 9 months. It establishes, there's a holy connection between children and their parents. And to break that holy connection, you would always at a later point be very sad about you did that. it's a very bad karma. No matter how terrible your parents, of course, like they, but with a sort of a normal life, accept your parents, of course, and you don't have to listen to all what they say. But be kind and loving towards them.
But why is there such a big tendency in Denmark to disown parents?
I didn't know there was a big tendency.
Yes, there is.
That's terrible for me to hear. So I would just say, like, I think even Joshua said the same. Honor your parents, didn't he? Didn't he?
He did. That's not my problem. My problem, I still honor my parents. It was just whether you go. Joshua is Jesus Christ. Oh,
that's his real name.
That's his real name.
I knew that telepathically 2,000 years ago.
That's right. So anyway,
yeah.
I hope you all got something out of his answer. So we have time for one question.
Yeah, this one here.
Yes, Ramona.
Yeah. Well, I had a few experiences myself, and some near-death experiences, and some experiences where I connected with one past life, at least. And they have always been a little bit different type of realities going into. And you said that when after you die, you experience your own projection of what your own belief is.
Yeah, yeah.
And in my experience, that happens also with near-death experiences. That maybe you don't have to die to actually really experience your own projection, but just in that. And I could see throughout the years that, for instance, when I was a child and I had such an experience, I saw God because I was a Christian. Later on in life, I was not a Christian anymore, so I saw some other things.
Yeah.
Cosmic serpent. And it's a bit unclear to me where this projection actually stops from being in the in-between worlds, after dying and then being born again. How does the fate projection come and stop? Yeah, like, does it continue in the childhood, you think, or?
Continue?
Yeah, for instance, if in a previous life I was, let's say, a Christian, and then I get the Christian experience when I'm in heaven, and then get born again, am I still a Christian? Or like, where does it start and stop? For me, it's a little bit...
I mean, changing religion, is that what you mean?
Yeah, or changing realities. What is your experience with this?
Yeah, I was a priest in England, and that not because I really wanted to be a priest. That was my mother who pushed me. She had all the money, 100 years ago. You could only go to university if your parents had a lot of money, and so she didn't really give me a choice. So I was not really, a Christian that way, really deep believing. But I know Joshua, and Christianity as we meet here in the church, that is really been destroyed. It started down in Rome when Christianity became the state religion. And they removed lots of stuff from the words of Joshua. So what is left is very little. Like where it says in the Bible, "Give to the emperor what is the emperor's." Joshua would never say that.
I don't think so either.
I feel like it was Chris Mecher who wrote it, and I thought that's right what he said. Like what you get in the between life station, that is what you yourself believe would happen. And if you believe in absolutely nothing, you know, many people outside here, they are atheists, believe in no God, no spirituality whatsoever, and they believe that when they die, it's all ended. There's nothing, just black. You know what they get, according to Chris? He said, they get blackness. They sit in the black hole.
Vesminicis.
So anyway, it's time we take a break. Unless you all really have something very, very pressing. But there is a lot of food and a lot of drinks. Please just drink it, because otherwise I have to drink it, and I don't really want to do that. And then after about 15 to 20 minutes, Benjamin is going to try to facilitate a jamming session. I have a lot of instruments all around, and we'll see what comes out of it. Because I basically feel when you play with natural instruments, you somehow connect with your higher self.
Can I attach a word?
Yes.
Also because we haven't tuned in fully, you and I, so we have that conversation now before you all go into conversation, and then it can be hard to adjust the space. So I want to find out now, is the jam going to be a jam-only activity, or is it going to be conversations around and also jam? Because it's
I
very
would
different.
prefer to be only a jam.
Yeah.
Even if you want to cut the jam down to minimum, then I think we should just concentrate on jam. And those who don't want to jam, because you think it might be not necessary, just sit down for the 10 to 15 minutes, depending how long you want to do it. So just sit down, don't walk around, just sit around while the others jam, and maybe connect to what Ole referred to, your higher self.
Or maybe, if necessary, on the balcony with a closed door. Is any of the rooms open?
Yes, the rooms are all open.
Okay, so the rooms are also open for you if you
yes,
want to have
there's a one room here that is completely open, so you can just go there if you don't want to join in. But I suggest, because this subject is quite sensitive,
so
I would
just want to give a word about the jam also. So what I'm feeling into is something that is more about listening and feeling the resonance of the space and resonance of our bodies and the instruments. Then it's about creativity and expression. It's a way to be together in the sound. That's what I'm inviting for. So if you feel intimidated about your musical skills, don't worry at all. It's not about technicality. Okay.
That's right. It's not about technicality. So the instruments will be placed here. There'll be drums. There will be different instruments. Meanwhile, please take a break and have something to eat and drink. Yes, and of course we I wish I had time to ask all of you why you are present today.